Persian Swarm UX, and this is what's left of Iran's nuclear bunkers. But Cappy Army. Yes, I'm pretty sure I just saw an hour or so ago that CIA confirms the bunker got critical damage. Fordo one, right? Fordo one, the inside the mountain one. So it got critical damage. So clearly it did damage. Who would have thought of that? Like I've been bitching about in like previous video and video before that. Like it's U.S. military. They're not winging it. They have scientists. Like they can calculate shit. It's mathematical, right? Come on. This is insane. Of course they did the damage, right? Chance of it not having damage would be insanely low. So of course it did damage. And like I said, like if the debris didn't come out, it would have gone in. It would have like collapsed the bunker. Like that's how it works. So we'll see like what details Cappy says here. So yeah, that's what this one.
Today, we're going to use new satellite images to analyze how much damage America's bunker buster bombs did to Iran's underground nuclear program, exactly how many of Iran's ballistic missile launchers they have left, and we'll map out the kind of tactics the US military used in this massive air campaign. Because the answer of whether or not these bombs are actually capable of destroying deep mountainous bunkers has enormous consequences far beyond just Iran.
See, there's been debate all day over whether the U.S. actually fully destroyed the Iranian nuclear facilities and the enriched uranium.
More or less destroyed the Iranian nuclear program, probably not forever, but certainly put it back a long way.
So Iran recently developed air base can also withstand those bunker buster missiles.
Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated.
First, let's look at the accuracy of these strikes. Take a look at this satellite image of the 12 GBU-57 bunker buster bomb hits at Iran's Fordow nuclear enrichment site. This reveals a lot. You can see there are two groups of 3 impact craters. Even though we only see 6 holes here, there were actually 12 GBU-57s dropped because 2 bombs were launched into each hole. It's like throwing a dart on top of another dart, except the dart is guided by GPS system from 9.5 miles up in the sky. Take a look at the location. See how the impact craters are in a linear north to south alignment. This strike pattern suggests to me that American intelligence had a systematic knowledge of the underground facility. The Washington Post spoke with Wes Bryant, who's an expert on satellite imagery and the former chief at the Pentagon's Civilian Protection Center of Excellence. He said the B-2 bombers targeted a 250-meter-long part of the facility that contains the centrifuges used to enrich uranium. The B-2s achieved this by specifically targeting the ventilation shafts. Yes, just like that scene from Star Wars where Luke Skywalker fires a bolt at the thermal exhaust port to blow up the Death Star, and then people would later joke about how why would they design the Death Star to have such an obvious weakness, but in reality that's actually lore accurate to IRL life. But sorting through the
it's not about lore accurate. Of course there's gonna be ventilation. Like you can't go around physics. Like there has to be a vent because people are going to be like, where's the airflow going to come from, right? So there has to be that. Kind of makes sense. Like that's where the weakness would be, right? But yeah, I mean, did they have real intelligence inside the mountain? Did they pay off certain Iranian soldier who basically sneaked in like camera footage or something, like how facility is to CIA or something, all that Hollywood level shit? They must have done that. Right, because I'm pretty sure like Trump also said like in one of this tweet, like, I know where the leader is hiding, but I'm not going to kill him now. You don't say that unless you know exactly where he is and which location, which way the inside structure is. Obviously, he wasn't in this facility, another bunker or something. But apparently, they have information of all the bunkers. I mean, that would make sense.
Geopolitical side of this topic has been insane because I get a different version of events depending on which outlet I'm looking at. Yeah. And that's exactly why I partnered with Ground News for this episode, because they're the best tool for me to stay objective with my reporting. Ground News is an app and a website that pulls in news coverage from around the world and puts it in one place, so I could see how every angle of a story is being told. The first thing I did with this episode was I used their...
Seriously, man, like I said in the previous video, like left-wing outlets are saying completely polar opposite of what right-wing are saying. It's like these polar opposite views are so insane to me. Like it's properly polar opposite. It's not even like somewhat different. Like go to CNN or like Stephen Colbert or something. See the comments. See how they talk about it. Go to somewhere right wing like Fox News or somebody else and see how they talk about it. It's completely different. That's insane. Yeah, we'll go to ground.news / Cappy and support this channel. Go to original video page link.
World, try out ground news. Iran's Fordow nuclear site needs these vulnerable ventilation shafts for 2 reasons. Because it needs to suck in air and remove carbon dioxide so people can breathe underground, and number 2, because it needs to vent out tons of heat and hot air that nuclear centrifuge halls generate.
You can't go around physics. You need air. How are you gonna get air if you're not gonna have vents?
Heat isn't expelled, it'll fry the machinery. Just like how your computer with its RTX 5090 graphics card needs 7 types of water fans to cool it down, this is the same here. It's true in nuclear facilities.
I have 4070 is plenty enough still. All the latest game run perfectly fine at 2K resolution. I don't get the newer extreme versions of graphics that people have to have them. Every time a new 90 cards come, people always replace their old and try to buy new one. Like, really? That's insane.
Too. These vents are only a few meters wide, they're tiny targets, and they're often disguised and hidden. It's like my old squad leader used to always say to me, stop making Star Wars analogies, you're a loser. Joseph Rogers at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, project on nuclear issues, said
seriously, man, just a few decades ago, like, yes, quoting Star Wars would have been something like, I wouldn't have done that ever. Like, quoting Star Wars would have been one of those, are you that nerd? Nowadays, things have changed a lot. I mean, I guess that happens with the social media and things, but I don't know.
Reason that you'd want to target a ventilation shaft is that it's a more direct route to the core components of the underground facility. Take a look at this satellite image. Now look at the blowout pattern from the explosion that tells us a ton. See how the discoloration of the soil extends from the crater. Translation, the soil is disturbed up to 200 meters away from the central impact. What that tells us is the subterranean shockwave traveled at least 200 meters through the facility. I feel sorry for the guy that got his degree in geology, not expecting to become a Fed doing battle damage assessment for the Pentagon. Jerry Lewis at the Middlebury Institute James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies spoke to Wired magazine and said, quote, they're probably not trying to get all the way into the facility. They're probably just trying to get close enough to it and crush it with a shockwave. If you send a big enough shockwave through the facility, it's going to kill people, break stuff, damage the integrity of it. Why does this picture look not safe for work? I should call her. But it doesn't tell us if it went deep enough to penetrate the enrichment center. To analyze that, we'll have to look elsewhere. Take a look at this before and after photo of more of the bunker buster impacts, and it tells us something interesting. The disturbed terrain here looks like white bluish gray soil, which is an indicator that pressure from collapsed tunnels sent debris flying out of the vents and tunnels. Because when an underground void collapses, the pressure vents out debris. Like how when you break glass of a window from the outside and
yeah, and like I said in the previous video, like, this is how physics works. If there was an explosion there, it has to go somewhere. Now, if everything blew out and you see a big crater, which means it didn't go deep enough, it just blew top of it. If it goes deep inside and destroys the structure itself, which is like a empty structure, that's where things are, move around and like so that would collapse, and then whatever is there would push out. So cement. That would make sense. If they didn't destroy that facility, if it exploded up and kind of damaged the facility there, the things that was up would come out, which would be dirt and all that shit, like like rocks and things, would not be cement. So yeah, this white thing is like, come on, man, this is like a common indicator. Of course, I mean, why is this a question? Like I said in the previous video, why is this even a question? Most of the American sightings are kind of working for military, and afterwards, as an offshoot, they moonlight in NASA or something. Like I said, first Hubble was a military, like a military satellite that looks down and spy on people. Then it became, wait a minute, we can point this to space and see 2 things, and there you go. Now we have Hubble. Everything comes from DARPA somewhat, and then it's an offshoot of somewhere. Because DARPA takes scientists from NASA. It's like, oh, this is national security. You can play around with space later time, but let's talk about military now. That's how this shit works. Pretty sure Neil deGrasse Tyson is the guy who wrote a book about like two sides of this, like where in one room military people is, in another room scientists are, and that's how they work together because somehow they overlap, and military needs scientists. So it's not that hard to understand. Like one of the greatest theoretical physicists that America has, and a lot of like mathematicians and people can pinpoint level of damage, level of position, and how many bombs to throw at it and how much damage it will do, and kind of get in the same picture with intelligence they have. Like that's what the bunker is. It's not that hard. In the end of the day, if you put physicists and like mathematicians in the same room, they'll figure shit out. They just put numbers to it. I could do this. They figure out how to do that. There you go. It's not that hard. This is modern world, man.
There's evidence of glass on the inside, like in every Forensic Files episode ever. We note a deep sinkhole is visible also on the eastern side, and this is what we would expect to see when the blast cavity of a slumped tunnel occurs. The answer of whether these bombs work or not is extremely important. It'll have profound consequences for the future of US power and the current
Seriously, man, how do they know this layout? Which means like they kind of already know it.
strategy for warfare.
Or is this Cappy guessing it? Because I've never seen this layout from any other place, any other media. How does Cappy know about it?
Because North Korea and China have invested heavily, spent billions of dollars and years of effort into a strategy designed almost entirely around digging deep underground to avoid these kind of bombs that only America is capable of delivering. Whether these bombs worked or not sends a very different message to our adversaries. If the damage was extensive, it demonstrates mountain bunkers in North Korea and China aren't immune from US air power, and it'll be a strong deterrent. However, if the damage from these bunker busters...
Yeah, they never were. They still have a nuclear bunker buster, so yeah, they don't need to drop 12 of them. One nuclear bunker buster, I don't think the mountain left there. Like mountain would be a cave, they're like caved in completely. Mountain would become this weird like moon-style crater. So yeah, I mean, if like things come to show, if shit hits the fan when it comes to China and things, they'll just use nuclear bunker buster. The end.
Was lackluster like a 2 out of 10 weak sauce, then it could have the exact opposite effect, which is why I think it's so important that we analyze this battle damage. The cat is now officially out of the bag one way or another, so let's hope that they worked. There were likely only around 50 of these GBU-57s ever produced for the entire US Air Force arsenal. That's all public knowledge that they've revealed based on production contracts. Jerry Lewis said, quote, "The US military relies on basically a computer model which tells them how much pressure it could take before it would severely damage everything inside and maybe even collapse the facility. The US didn't need bombs capable of penetrating the full 260 feet to cause substantial damage. The bunker busters were tested against reinforced concrete that's resistant to 5,000 psi. However, Iran used a more resistant type that can withstand 15,000 psi. What we don't see here in these images, though, tells us just as much as what we do see. Absent is any Iranian air defense assets, which were already destroyed by the Israeli and US airstrikes. But can we really draw any conclusion of how effective Russian air defense equipment is against American stealth fighters? Maybe, maybe not.
That's the
We're
thing,
talking
man.
about export.
Look, man, that's the thing. Like, it's not just about Russian air defense. It's like any, right? In India-Pakistan thing, it showed like S-400 is like really good. But something like B-2, F-22, how they even target that? Like, I don't see, like, I know there was a news like, oh, Iran can detect F-35. They can't pinpoint it. Something is there, they might see it, but like, where is it? How are you going to target it? How are you going to pinpoint it? I don't know, man. Russia is type of country who could have worked to like make another generation of like air detection that can detect something like B-2 or F-22 or something, or next to 6th generation or something. But they are under war. They're not working for that. China might be doing it. But then again, India-Pakistan things show that China's air defenses aren't shit. Or at least Pakistan didn't maintain it or something like that. So yeah, I don't think there is going to be anything like that that can target B-2, B-21, F-22 or future F-47, right? So yeah, how are you going to target that? It's not just small. I mean, if you have a small enough cross radar section, these things can target it. B-2 and F-22's radar section is insanely small. That's way beyond the threshold. So how it's not even possible to target them. You need completely, you can't rely on radar. You need something completely different if you have to like overcome this.
Versions of a lot of this equipment, and we're talking about an entirely different military using it. I mean, Ukraine has effectively used Russian-produced S-300 air defense. It's just tough for us to say a lot about that. Absent is any large-scale recovery or repair effort. I can see there is some activity on the road with vehicles there, which means Iran's agents are already on the ground assessing the damage. But my absolute favorite way to get open source intelligence isn't from satellite images, it's from people with cell phones on the ground and people gabbing. The Iranians on the ground looking at the results of the bombings will inevitably communicate with
We are over here, we are over here, we are checking this shit. And the Iranian, who's his name? Forgot the main guy. Like, what the fuck? Stop putting on social media. Oh, we're checking the damage here. I'm going to put this on social media. I'm going to be next star. And that Kalemani, what is his name? Forgot his name. He's like, what the, shut the fuck up.
their leadership the extent of the damage, and those communications will eventually be intercepted by signals, intelligence, intercepting radio transmissions, or by human intelligence. American CIA spies will channel that information back to US officials. If you want to get an idea of just how much the CIA has penetrated the Middle East, just check out my last video on the unhinged operations that the CIA pulled off there recently.
How is that?
But what are the public statements from each government? It's always kind of hilarious to see what government officials are saying these days when they have to lie in the face of overwhelming visual satellite imagery. It's worth it to look at these though, because the public statements from each government and their officials can give us clues as to how effective these strikes were. Iran's own energy agency confirmed that access is compromised. Meanwhile, statements from US officials claim Fordow is now off the table for enrichment. However, privately there have been doubts within the Pentagon that the GBU-57 might not actually be enough to reach the main hull of the Fordow facility. Iran insists that their core facility is still intact, but it's not like they're exactly letting inspectors in to vet that claim. The Iranian regime's official...
Why would they go for a ceasefire then? If US tried and failed, this is the time to flex. This is the time to say US took its best shot and couldn't do shit. Like, yeah, this is the moment for our defiance or shit like that. Why would they go for ceasefire immediately after this? They put all of their chips into this nuclear program. They're not even buying planes from Russia or air defense. They have S-300. They could have bought S-400. Like, S-400 is not just something that has 100-kilometer more range. It has better radar and everything. And it was just proven in India-Pakistan conflict. If anything, like, demand should be higher. They could have gone for S-400. They are not. They could have gone for Sukhoi 30s or something like that, or even Su-57s, the fifth-generation planes from Russia. Right? One of the reasons why Su-57 failed is like, there wasn't enough backing behind it. Right? People didn't pour enough money behind it type of shit. So if they had more buyers, they would have done it much faster, right? Maybe. Who knows? This is all on the air. But they could have done something, right? They could have had like some type of, ground thing, air thing, naval thing, something. If they're going against like US, no, they pour their chips into nuclear program. All the money. Or every oil money they had, they pour into nuclear program. And when that shit blew up, they're like, fuck me, like I don't know what to do now. Ceasefire and try to save face. That just makes sense. And if the US had any doubt, like this wouldn't destroy it, they won't throw 12 at him. They would constantly bombard it one after another until they can feel paranoia level safe. Like after 30 bomb, yeah, now it's done. 12, 30, they don't care. They have enough money to build them. Like it doesn't matter how much money it wastes, they would have just done that shit, not just 12. So there's no way they didn't destroy it.
Statements dispute the damage. For example, Hassan Abedini, the deputy political head of Iran's state broadcaster, said they already evacuated the 3 sites a while ago, saying, quote, the enrichment uranium reserves have been transferred from the nuclear centers, and there are no materials left there that if targeted would cause radiation and be harmful to our compatriots, end quote.
Well, the Iranians claim they were able to move all of their enriched uranium to a safe place before the U.S. bombing this weekend. But General McKenzie pointed out to me that it is very difficult to move radiated material around.
I mean, like I said in the previous video, it is possible to move around even on the pickup truck if you don't care about your people. and certain extremist people I can see like, so yeah, just like screw your life. You're doing this for your country. Put them behind a truck. Some of the enriched uranium will get damaged. Maybe some will be recovered. Most of you are going to die. Wherever you're going to pass through, people close, they're going to die. Well, it happens like, yeah, okay, we're doing this for God or something. Like they could have gotten extreme like that and remove it. But the likelihood of that happening is kind of low, because I don't see 15, 20 people in trucks risking their life, risking the life of other civilians. Because what if that truck gets crashed or topple over in some accident, and all those enriched uranium just flows to some town or cities? Now people are screwed. I don't think I can think of anyone who would be extreme enough to do that. But maybe in the land of possibilities, I can think that maybe. So it could have been possible. Like there is a slim chance it could have been possible. They would have moved it if they knew that this shit is going to happen. If they knew US is coming for them, maybe. But even then, like, okay, you moved it. Now you're going to start it somewhere else. Okay, you're going to build more bunker. US will know about it. You start it again. Okay, let's say you even enrich the uranium. You're close to making a nuclear bomb. How are you going to test it? As soon as your testing process starts, US knows about it and nukes Iran. Because this is basically, they would see this as a like, deterrent not working. They would see that as like Iran nuking US if they even test it. Try to test it. You can't do this without testing shit. So how is that going to work?
Without being detected.
Some evidence of this comes from Israeli officials speaking to the New York Times. They said it appeared that Iran had moved equipment, including uranium, from the site ahead of time. These satellite images from Maxar confirm the 17 trucks arrived before the attack and then left. These dump trucks could also be...
I get it, this is a long exposure photo, so you can't really track movement. But you still can get enough photos one after another to know where the trucks are going and what is happening with the trucks. Right? I mean, surely you can make some guess like what's being put there. So why is this only image there?
Trying to fill in the tunnel entrances to prevent damage from the bomb. Usually in battle damage assessment in BDA, you're looking for how many enemy were KIA, but in this case, amazingly, the Iranian Red Crescent reported that no human casualties from any of the American strikes, because all these facilities had been evacuated beforehand. Meanwhile, from 400 kilometers to the south, American submarines launched a massive wave of 300 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Esfahan nuclear site.
Why did they use submarine for that though? I mean, undetected, but then again, why did they need it to be undetected? There was already aircraft carrier there. So aircraft carrier and they had destroyer with it. So why didn't they just use that destroyer for like Tomahawk? Why did you need a submarine to do that? I don't get it.
Location to destroy the remaining buildings and knock it out for good. But wait a second. Is there a risk of radiation after the attack? Since the US targeted enrichment sites instead of something like an active reactor or a weapon stockpile, there isn't really a risk of that. Operation Midnight Hammer used considerable resources, including 120 US Air Force fighter jets, E-18 Growler electronic warfare jammers, and civilians on the ground in Iran reported major cell phone
So also F-22s, like 180, like damn, but yeah, some of them are F-22 as well.
GPS and other communications interruptions in the area. I've seen that happen firsthand when I was in Ukraine. You're just looking at your phone, looking at the map 1 second, and then the next second shows your location some 300 miles away or something. It's kind of spooky. Aircraft carriers are also headed to the region, with 3 of them going there, so escalation is still on the table, boys. And with all these combined, over 500,000 pounds of munitions dropped on Iran, it appears their nuclear program has been, at the very least, knocked back years and possibly even...
The escalation is not on the table, but it's like a last measure thing, because there is no back and forth anymore if this ceasefire doesn't hold. If Iran says, screw your ceasefire, I just wanted a breathing room, then there you go, US is completely attacking Iran now. So 3 aircraft carriers would basically take few weeks to destroy anything that is airborne or an anti-air thing. Basically control the skies completely. And there you go, after you do something, I don't know what the US would do. Like, would they put troops there just to make sure? I don't know what they would do then. Like, you destroyed everything. What you gonna do now? I don't know.
Completely destroyed, or as they say in 2025, it's been unalive. But how many Iranian ballistic missile launchers are still operational after a ton of them were targeted by Israeli fighter jets? People don't realize it, but this is a giant bottleneck for Iran's retaliation, because even though they have 2,000 missiles that can reach Israel, they only have about 300 TELs or mobile launchers.
This is the problem with Iran. Like, let's say I become a fighter. Yeah, man, I'm a fighter. I'll learn to punch. I'll learn from Mike Tyson. I don't have any defense. I don't know how to defend. I just know how to punch. I go to UFC. I get my ass kicked left and right. I don't know how to defend myself. I just know how to punch somebody. It's just offense, not defensive. Iran is like, yeah, we have ballistic launchers and we have ballistic thing. Do we have any good end? Yeah, we have S-300, so it's going to be fine, maybe. Israel deletes all that shit. Okay, we don't have anything entire. We don't have control of our own skies. Okay, now they can literally pick apart your launchers one by one, where you're completely disabled. You can't attack with anything. What you gonna do then? One of the most strategic military things that most major countries do is to have an arsenal of balanced things from defense to offense. So those defensive things can support the offensive things. There's a reason why people spend to this shit. I don't get why Iran didn't do none of that. If something like S-400, even S-500 that Russia already has, they're working on it, I don't know. Something like that, because if Iran were at that level, would they had the risk of going against US? Because Iran is the only country that I can think of right now where US is interested at this level, or they would have to go one-on-one against USA. Where US would even attack like they did with all the history and everything. They would be the first to like properly create defenses. Why didn't they do that? I don't get it.
That can actually fire them. An account by the name of L. Musk on X did the dirty work of compiling a list of all the video and photographic evidence of each destroyed launcher. This is the kind of open source information that makes me want to say hua unironically. The list shows Israel has destroyed at least 54 Iranian ballistic missile launchers. You might say, well, they have 250 left, no problem, right? We have to keep in mind that a bunch of these are decoys and older, smaller ones that can't fire missiles that reach Israel. And that kind of reduction explains why their retaliation has been lowered from 150 missiles launched per day down to about 10 launched per day. The way the kill chain works is wild. When Iran fires one of these missiles, the heat signature is located and instantly picked up by American satellites. That GPS targeting data is then transferred to an Israeli warplane that starts hunting for them and then deletes them in the world's highest stakes game of cat and mouse.
F-35 imagine that shit. F-35I, I think that's it, right? Israeli one. F-35I basically hunts for that shit. US is like, ooh, got one other one, and just transfer data to F-35, and F-35 is like, I can't do this all day. You can't touch me because I'm the F-35, and I'm gonna destroy you. Like, this is just fucked up, man.
You might say, well, Iran can just build more of these launchers really fast, right? They could just pump these puppies out. They're basically just trucks with hydraulic systems, right? Not necessarily. Sanctions against Iran mean that they have difficulty getting heavy-duty engine parts and machine tooling with the kind of tolerances they need to rebuild.
What about Russia, though? What about Russia? They could acquire from Russia. Russia could acquire things from like Azerbaijan or something like via route that they're already doing. I don't know.
These launchers.
Azerbaijan? Not Azerbaijan. What country I'm thinking of? The one that is below, right? Over Iran? Oh, I can't remember the name of the big one. I don't know. Yeah, that country, right? Whatever. I can't remember its names. So, they can get that from that country, or second supply to Iran. I don't know.
Pretty soon, we're going to see them firing them off the back of Toyota Camrys. Iran isn't totally defanged yet, though. They're continuing drone and ballistic missile strikes against Israeli cities. Over 500 ballistic missiles have been lobbed at Israel so far. Most have been intercepted, but the total amount that they've impacted the ground so far has been estimated to be around 50 of those 500, which isn't exactly a great show of force. Iran's missile infrastructure has been heavily damaged. Iran was able to produce about 50 of their missiles per month before the war because they were trying to outpace the production of Israel's air defense. Now the calculations have been shifted, though. What we're seeing is a missile war of attrition instead of a war of attrition of manpower. We're watching to see who's going to run out of missiles first, Iran or Israel. After just a week of combat operations against Iran, Israel's stockpile of larger, more expensive Arrow interceptors are running low, according to the Wall Street Journal, and they've conducted an attack against a U.S. military base in Qatar. The U.S. had already evacuated that air base in Qatar on June 17th, and Iran knew that when they chose to attack it, so they weren't trying to destroy much as just tell their domestic audience that, hey, we've retaliated, and now, hey, can
Yeah, okay, people, we also attacked America, and people like, really, did you do that? Like, let me check internet. Oh, you don't have internet access. Oh, we'll find it through VPN or some shit, and then oh no, you didn't attack anything.
we stop this war, please? Oceanit Defender, who has 1.4 million followers on X, wrote his assessment of Iran's retaliation, saying, quote, Iran once again shows how pathetic and incapable they actually are. And if that's really the case, that would explain why the New York Times is saying Iran is looking for an off-ramp here, which is a diplomatic way of saying they're trying to say, peace, no more, time out, no tagbacks. If the United States really wanted regime change, what would happen next would be bombing of their water facilities, electric power companies, knocking out their entire country's communication networks. After that, we would see them hit transportation, like their bridges and airfields would get KO'd, which would prevent Iranian leadership from even leaving the country.
That sounds like fucking with citizens though. Like water, electric, like, okay, damn man, alright, go with military, like, why would you, okay. I don't know, that's some next level shit.
After that, the American air power would target shipping ports and shut off their economy by stopping oil from leaving the country. This would destabilize the nation so badly that the United States would hope that the people would revolt or that the leadership would flee to Russia, North Korea, or China.
What if people don't revolt? What if people get more angry at America? What is your plan then? We're coming to dilemma level shit. Like, what would you do then?
Like how Assad ditched out and pieced out from Syria. By June 24th, there was some confusing whiplash back and forth over the possibility of a ceasefire. The US government stated that there was a complete ceasefire in effect. By the next morning, Iran and Israel had continued to bomb one another, and it was unclear if the ceasefire would hold. Remember to check out our top secret CIA mission.
I'm pretty sure it did hold, right? Trump got pissed off, says that whoever drops the next bomb is gay. So just some perfectionist shit. He just pulled South Park, and yeah, I'm pretty sure they're holding. I don't know how long, like, who knows. Right, well, that was what's left of Iran's nuclear bunkers by channel Cappy Army. Great channel. I like how he just basically left task and purpose, said, oh, I have a channel here as well. In a matter of a month or two, he already has 500,000 subscribers. And his videos now getting 1 million views every day or two. This video is like a day, less than, no, it's about a day or so old. Less than 2 days old, let's just say. And it's like near 1 million views. Right, well, if you like my next one, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.